You think you'd fight harder if you lost it all? You wouldn't. Most people who lose everything don't rebuild, they vanish. Not physically, they stay alive, they go through motions. But the person they were? Gone. And here is what no one tells you. The collapse doesn't happen because they lost their money or their status. It happens because they realize, for the first time, that they never actually knew how to build anything. They were just good at maintaining, and maintenance stops working the second the ground disappears. So the question isn't whether you could survive losing everything. It's whether you'd even recognize yourself on the other side. Day 1, the inventory. You wake up with nothing. Bank account, 0. Contacts, gone. Reputation, erased. The first thing you feel isn't panic. It's relief. Because for years, you've been carrying the weight of a life you built on autopilot, and now the weight is gone. But relief lasts about 4 hours. Then the silence starts. You realize no one's checking on you. No notifications, no meetings, no obligations. And that's when it hits. You don't know what you are worth when no one's watching. The entire structure of your identity was scaffolded by external validation. And now, the scaffolding is gone. You are still standing, but you can feel yourself swaying. Day 1 isn't about making money. It's about taking inventory of what remains when everything else is stripped away. And what remains is uncomfortable. Your skills feel irrelevant. Your confidence feels like a performance you can no longer afford to stage. You look at yourself in the mirror and see someone who's been coasting on momentum for longer than they'd like to admit. So you make a list, not of what you lost, of what you actually know how to do. And the list is shorter than you expected. Week 1, the recession of the self. The first week is about learning how to be small again. You can't afford pride. You can't afford the version of yourself that needed things to look a certain way. So you start from the ground. You take the work no one wants, the tasks that feel beneath you. You do them anyway, not because you are humble, but because you are hungry. And hunger is clarifying. You notice something strange. Without the distractions of status, you see the world differently. You see the mechanics, how money actually moves, how people actually connect, how value is created not in boardrooms, but in tiny, repeated actions no one celebrates. You realize you spent years optimizing for appearances and never learned how things actually work. This is where most people break. Because being small feels like dying. It feels like proof that you were never as capable as you thought. And the mind starts whispering, maybe this is who you really are. Maybe everything before was luck. But you don't have the luxury of spiral. You need 90 days. So you make a rule. Every action has to compound. No busy work, no comfort spending, no distractions. If it doesn't build equity, financial, social, or psychological, you don't do it. You become surgical. Week 4, the asymmetry. By week 4, you've made some money. Not much. Enough to eat, enough to keep moving, but you've also made something else, evidence. Evidence that you can produce value from nothing. And evidence changes the brain. It stops the whispering. You start to notice asymmetries everywhere. Opportunities where the effort required is small but the potential return is massive. You see them because you are no longer distracted by the illusion of safety. You realize most people never take asymmetric bets because they're afraid of looking stupid. But you've already lost everything. You have nothing left to protect, so you bet. You reach out to people you'd normally never contact. You pitch ideas that feel too ambitious. You ask for things that feel unreasonable, and something unexpected happens. People say yes, not because your pitch is perfect, but because desperation has made you direct. You are not performing anymore. You are not trying to seem impressive. You are just asking for what you need, and people respond to that. This is the inflection point. Most people who rebuild don't do it through strategy. They do it through audacity born from having no other option. The desperation becomes the advantage. Week 8, the isolation tax. By week 8, you are making real progress. Money is coming in. Momentum is building. But something else is happening too. You're alone. Not just physically. Psychologically, because the person you are becoming doesn't fit into the social structures you left behind. Your old friends don't understand what you are doing, your family is worried, and you can't explain it to them because you barely understand it yourself. You realize that transformation isn't inspirational. It's isolating, because you are operating at a frequency no one around you recognizes. You are thinking in timelines they've never considered. You are willing to endure discomfort they've spent their lives avoiding. And that creates distance. This is where the second collapse happens. Not financial, relational. You start to wonder if the price of rebuilding is worth it. If becoming someone new means losing everyone who knew the old you. And the answer is uncomfortable. Sometimes, yes. But you keep going. Because turning back isn't an option, and moving forward is the only direction that doesn't feel like suffocation. Day 90. The recognition. 90 days later, you are not rich, you are not famous. You haven't made it, but you've done something rarer. You've built proof that you can start from zero and create momentum. And that proof changes everything. You look at the person you were 90 days ago, and they feel like a stranger. Not because you've changed your circumstances dramatically, but because you've changed your relationship to uncertainty. You used to need guarantees. Now you trust your ability to figure things out. You used to need validation. Now you trust your own assessment of what matters. And here is the disturbing part. You realize that losing everything was the best thing that could have happened. Not because it was easy, but because it forced you to confront the question you spent your entire life avoiding. Who are you when no one's defining you? Most people never answer that question. They build lives that insulate them from ever having to ask it. And they die never knowing what they were actually capable of. You didn't have that luxury, so you know. And now, standing on the other side of 90 days, you understand something that can't be unlearned. The person who can build from nothing is the only person who can never truly lose. Because loss becomes irrelevant when you trust your ability to rebuild. The next 90 days start tomorrow, and this time, you are not starting from zero. You are starting from knowing.